when I was an artist and I was traveling around the world, there's a few places that I hold dearly and I consider them as my second home. And these guys are from one of those places. And I know one of them from back in the days when he was coming to the shows and stuff. So basically, I just wanted to bring someone in from Glasgow to represent Glasgow. So here they are. Guys, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Damaged Goodz, representing Glasgow, international sex god, cage fighter and MC.
DJ Zeeny, representing myself. No hate to Glasgow, obviously, but just do my own thing, man.
My name is Pro Focus, representing Stirling, Scotland.
Let's go back to the very beginning where the scene in Glasgow was just growing. And you were younger than us, obviously, younger than myself. What were you seeing? And who were the people that came before you?
Well, for me, I won't kid on that I'm a historian, but I just know basically when I got into hip-hop and I was basically, a lot of it was going to the gigs at the Glasgow Barrowlands to see like your big acts like your Public Enemy, your Ice Cube and your Cypress Hill, and I would bump into all these guys that were outside freestyling, having cyphers and stuff like that, and for then on they started like handing out flyers for their gigs and shit, you know what I mean? And then basically for me it started when my ex-girlfriend, she bought an album for me when I was trying to buy a ticket for a Cypress Hill gig, and the album that she bought was Gunshot, Patriot Games, and I was like, well, why did you buy me this?
And you're wearing a hoodie.
Representing.
Yeah,
I actually got it made myself, so it's all like grey for some reason, so it's grey child Ricks instead of white child Ricks here, you know what I mean? So she bought me the Gunshot album, and because she thought Gunshot is gangster rap or something like that, and I was only really into American stuff at the time, but then I heard that album and it fucking blew my mind, and then found out that they were playing at the Cat House in Glasgow. Went to see them at the Cat House in Glasgow, and it was Big Div for Major Fret that was opening up. It was a support, and that was the first time I seen somebody rapping in a Scottish accent and my own tongue, and it blew my mind. But the stuff that Big Div was doing, Major Fret was doing, was like brickcore, along the same lines as your Gunshot and your Killer Instinct and stuff like that. I was more into the mid-tempo stuff, like the slower stuff, and then that's what kind of put me onto like your LP, the line goes from strength to strength. And when you see the cover and the inside like liner notes, it's like a lot of my friends are mentioned in the mailing list and the picture at art school. So it was a big connection, like seeing like somebody else outside Scotland gives a fuck about Scotland. But for then, I just ended up to go to see Gunshot again when they played, and it was Power Move that was opening up for them. It was like a DJ set, and then became pals with them, and then ended up on open mics with them, and then it just kind of ran for there. But before me, there was a completely really good like burgeoning scene. It was like you had your Major Fret, you had your Power Move, you had your JLRs, you had your Two Tone Committee, Crack Free Media, Scotland Yard, and we're not just talking about hip-hop the music, we're talking about the graffiti as well, the breakdancing, and it's all the way up to like your Flying Jalapenos as far as the breakdancing goes, and your Easy Riders as far as the graffiti goes, and there's always, Scotland is always represented really well and at a world-class level as far as hip-hop goes.
Do you think the rest of the world has acknowledged them for what they've done?
Definitely no. No. But the thing is, a lot of people keep on saying, when you hear about hip-hop in Scotland, and for people outside Scotland, they seem to have this stupid fixation with the accent, as if they can't grasp the accent, and people don't actually, they can't fathom how much an insult that is to us.
Well, yeah, well, if I'm being honest, bro, I can't understand a word you're fucking saying.
I can't understand what you're saying either. There's subtitles there, mate. You know what I mean? But you're Armenian. But it's like, as I say, to me, it's a bit of an insult, because when I started getting into hip-hop, UK hip-hop, like with yourself, with your London posse, they were saying slang, so we had to adjust our ears to that slang as well. And I've always thought, if you can't make out, if you've got a problem with our diction, maybe you should work on your listening. Because I like listening to hip-hop that's for like Nottingham, say like the Numbskulls for Bristol. I like picking up in the slang for certain cities.
And that's the beauty of it, the variety.
Exactly, it's the lexicon.
When I was kind of getting somewhere with my career, who was my hype man?
Aye.
From Glasgow.
Aye.
You know, if someone's good, they're good.
I know it's bringing it kind of back up to like modern day, but see when you watch like the rap game, and there's like, say, a Scottish contestant on it, that's all they seem to focus on, is getting past the accent and the diction, and it's just like, listen, this is something new, this is something cool. You know what I mean? Like, this it's a different vibe. I like listening to French hip hop, even though it's in French, like MC Solar and shit.
Exactly that. And I mean, and when you've got people like Bose and you got Low Key, people like that, they're sick. But, you know, do they get the credit they deserve?
I think it gets to the point where even they get the credit they deserve in our country, definitely, and to a certain degree outside it a bit as well. But you can see that all these guys do it for the love of the hip hop culture. You know what I mean, it gets past the point where this is a money thing, this is a career thing. This is because we love hip hop and how it's made people move in life.
I mean, I wasn't even mentioning it in terms of money. Forget the money. Just the fact that there's so many rappers in London, for example, that get accepted because they're good, because people are familiar with the accent. But then you got other rappers in other parts of the country, like your Scorsese's and your Lee Scotts and whoever else coming from wherever, that are amazing, but yet maybe the accent is an issue to some people.
I think Lee Scott's a perfect example of that, as somebody who's like beyond dope with a pen, but just seems to always. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's definitely hitting numbers that he's hitting way more numbers than most people, but there is a limit where you go like, how's this guy getting that many views and how's this guy just getting like steady like 20k, 30k? But it's like that guy's his pen's ridiculous. But I think it's a style, and I think it's the voice, and I think it's there's like an acceptance of the mass. And I think because he's in his own wee kind of lane, I think he's also got an attitude of like, I don't want you as well. I think you get that vibe from him, but it's like, I think he's after like the hardcore audience. But I think that's a great example of somebody who's like insanely talented, but just like criminally
Who
slept on.
specifically are you talking
Lee
about?
Scott. Like he's insanely criminally slept on, but it's just it's a machine. It's the way it is. Like I don't know how you get past that.
And you're speaking on the basis of you being a DJ listening.
Just a hip hop fan. It's not even from a DJ perspective. It's just the perspective of like there's certain things like in any other like art concept. There's obviously like interpretations of what's good and what's bad, but there's pretty definitive that guy's dope at rapping. There's no really that many. It's different for like painting, but it's really subjective. But you could read his words and go, he's incredible. But just like, I don't know, I think he's insanely slept on. But there's loads of people like that.
Pro, what do you say? I hope you don't mind me calling you Pro. His name is Pro Focus, by the way. You as a younger MC, what's your take on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the first thing is, I think in Scotland, a lot of people started rapping back in the day in American accents. And the same sort of happens now with English accents. I think in terms of the accent, for us to use anything that isn't our own accent that's like not hip hop, innit? You know what I'm saying? You need to be true to yourself. So regardless whether people are if people want to hear it or make the effort, you know what I mean, or read the lyrics or whatever to help them out a little bit, that's fine. But yeah, there's no compromise in my perspective. I need to sound the way that I sound and let people take it, you know what I mean? And hopefully they do. And for the ones that don't, hopefully they maybe check the lyrics, might help them learn the slang a little bit. But yeah, man, just need to keep it real to ourselves, for sure.
I mean, obviously, you'd be familiar with this, but back in the days, a lot of people in the UK used to rap in American accents. It took a little while for the UK accent and the UK slang to get accepted. And look at what's going on in the industry now. So you would be familiar with it because you're younger. So I'm sure you listen to some of the youngers. So if they're going to accept the London slang, do you think that the Scottish slang is more difficult to accept? Do they have to go through a certain process to get there?
It's interesting because there's different English accents, you know, so like I would say places like Leeds is maybe the newer one where people are, you know, and Liverpool's probably a better example of really different from London or you know, Manchester, Birmingham accent, but something about it hits, you know what I'm saying? If you got the right artist with the right bars, the right songs, it translates. So, you know, different English accents isn't the same with Scottish accents. I think people like Central C going to America and actually breaking down the English slang for everyone to learn what he means when he raps was a power play, and I think, you know, maybe Scotland needs to do a little bit of that as well.
Have you got someone in Scotland that can do that?
Possibly the best narrator, that kind of stuff would probably be Loki. He's got obviously a massive platform outside hip hop as well, with his books and his speeches and stuff like that. And I definitely think he's a buffer for a lot of people that don't know what hip hop is in Scotland, and then he would be like the guy that we'd look at to break it down in the best possible way. But for me, at the end of the day, it's got to be dope as fuck. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. I mean, it's got to be good first before any talk about any accents or something, anything like that.
What was going on in the early days that made it interesting for you guys to get into what's going on now?
Well, for me, I just...
And explain to people how long you've been at it.
My first open mic I stepped up to was in 1994. I was rapping before that for about 4 or 5 years, but I started off rapping in an American accent and just aping, like...
Can you give us a quick Glaswegian American accent demonstration now?
I don't even know what that means, you know what I mean? But I remember when I went to see, when there was an open mic and it was Power Move that was playing in Sons of the Devil.
Sorry to cut in, but to anyone who doesn't actually know what an open mic is, do you want to explain?
The open mic was basically like you've got a time allotted on stage where basically the DJ is playing the tune in the background and you've just got a bunch of MCs jumping up and spitting. And I was one of the MCs that was jump up and done a bit. And that actual night, the World Cup in 1994, was the first night where I switched from an American accent to a Scottish accent, because I seen people up there rapping in Scottish, like your Freestyle Master, Big Div. I'm sure Defy was there. I'm positive Defy was there. And I was just like, well, fuck, I don't want to. I'm not going to rap in American. So my first like 4 lines were trash, you know what I mean? But it was like, as I come down with the rope shaking funk, come true to the game like a Shaolin monk, B-boy apprentice, you know that I meant this #1 kid on the BNP hit list. It was nothing, but it was just like, that was my first ever time where I plucked up the courage to rap in my own tongue, and then for then on, it was just like, constantly try and get better at this. It was just, everything was a learning curve.
Who was the main influence for you from Glasgow, from Scotland?
I would say for me, it was Freestyle Master. He was for Power Move because he done the kind of hip hop that I was into, as far as like the mid tempo, no boom bap stuff, but definitely it wasn't brickcore. It was the stuff that I was into, and he was great at it. He's obviously with his name, he's a ridiculous freestyler as well, and he was somebody I looked up to where I was like, well, I thought he was a standard bearer in our country at the time, and then obviously linked up with him, done tunes, and then joined the label and stuff like that, and it just kind of rolled for there. So yeah, Big Div as well. Big Div was a major threat, was a major influence as well.
You mentioned labels. What labels were about at the time?
For what I remember, it was just Power Cut Productions, Criminal Records. That was only 2 that I knew. Criminal Records was Big Div's label. He had Loki and Respect BA and all that on it, Mac G. And Power Move had Damage Goods, Freestyle Master, Steg G kind of thing. There was other labels in Edinburgh as well. It was like Music Comes First, where it was like Mad Hat McGower, the Dead Sounds Boys, all kind of stuff like that. So everybody's tried their best to represent their region, you know what I mean? And if you can't get let's say like a bigger label, you push it yourself, you do it independently.
I'm glad you said that, because while you're saying that, I remember a certain situation, and you had one of the biggest record stores that grew to be one of the biggest in the UK, starting out in a garage, I believe, in Glasgow.
Rubadub?
Nah, FOP.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, because I remember going like there in the early days when it was starting out.
Aye.
You know, so how do you think FOP supported your scene?
FOP was fucking great because they took everything, whether it was vinyl or CDs, they took everything and they always gave us a really good deal.
Who did you deal with directly at FOP? Did you deal
just
directly?
The manager. It was that easy. We just went in. Local artist, sale or return, we'll take 15 albums off you. And they always put them in prime locations. Now, I mean, we were getting basically our album shared on the same racking with your Dr. Dre's and your whoever was big at the time or whatever. I mean, so when somebody went in and they seen that, they were like, well, this must be good. If it's here, it's no buried away at the back behind another bunch of records. But I think as well, a lot of people seen what we done is they take ourselves seriously. So that really worked in my favour because we were professional.
When we were talking off camera, you said something about you do this for the love of it, and you've got your income coming from other sources, so you don't actually care about whether this is successful for you or not.
It's not even like being a success though. I've never wanted to make it a job. It's a fun hobby. It's how I get
Why
a
is
release. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't want to ruin it. Do you know what I mean? Like, see if you start doing something too much and it becomes a hassle and it becomes a burden, and then you just want to step away from it. So I kind of like the fact that it's a release, it's a hobby, it's still a fun thing, and the fact I can do it at my own time. Like, I've got my own wee setup, I can make my own beats, I can DJ it. If I wanted to rap, I could rap again. I did a few verses before, but I didn't really like it. I felt it was kind of...
So it's kind of like having a girlfriend, and then everything's cool until you say I love you, and then it's fucked.
Kinda, man. No, you can't say that because I've been with my missus for ages and we're not married yet, and I'll get grief. No, it is kind of like that to an extent. No, it's not. I've got no urge to be in the industry. Like, I just don't. I don't want it to become toxic, because I'll hold a grudge to it, and it'll be like, I don't want to have to make music. I just like making music whenever I feel like making music.
Imagine this scenario. Imagine you're a guy that just wants to do it for the love of it, and that's understandable, that's applaudable. However, someone else has given up everything to be in a position that he feels that you're hogging up by trying not to achieve anything, and you're taking up his space.
See, I wouldn't say I'm not trying to achieve anything. If I'm making something and it goes out, I want people to like it, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Like, I'm not going to put a goal on it that's like not even unattainable. I don't even want to put any expectation on it. But obviously, I want people to like it. Like, me and Brian have made a few things together quite recently. Like, since the pandemic, we've made 3 EPs and an album essentially together.
And a sex tape.
But like, I want them to be good. I want to push them. I want people to like it. But I don't want to have any dog in the fight. Like, in the sense that, like, I'm not having any expectation. If it does well, it does well. I'm cool with it. But I feel like I'm at a point in life where I'm just happy making it, and I'm enjoying making it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I took years away for making beats or giving a shit about the industry or the scene or whatever you want to call it. So, like, I had kids. It was like, I've got no time to do it anymore. And then there came a point where I was like, I want to get back into it, and this is the best I've ever made anything.
But the point I'm making is there are people who, like, we know the world is screwed.
No,
right?
I know what you mean. See,
so there are people that are going to be looking at this and not necessarily looking at this, but looking at someone who's doing it for the love, who's getting further than them, getting more shows, whatever, and the bitterness is brewing because they're not getting it because...
But the thing is, I don't feel like I'm holding anybody up now. But if people feel like I'm holding them up, that's a them issue to me. That's your issue, not me.
Yeah.
So it's a thing where I'm happy making it. If you're not happy being where you are, then change your circumstance. Like, I think that's just in life though. But yeah, I think that's because I'm older now, and I'm settled in the fact that I'm never trying, like, when I started DJing, one of my friends always went, what are you gonna do if you get famous? And I was like, I can't think of anything worse. Like, I'm gonna wear a mask or something. Like, I'm gonna ski mask it up.
And you're going to have to lose weight or do something to
but it's not even that.
Change your walk.
But you're going to be in the machine. I always felt that. And it's like, you see it, like, second hand quite a lot, where people become somebody else very easily and they lose themselves. And that's when it becomes a hassle or a job or a burden, or I don't like it.
Okay, so with everything you just said, why not just do this in your bedroom and not show the world?
I mean, to an extent, I do. But, like, Brian likes putting shit out, essentially. So, like, that's how we put it out.
So if you get famous, you're going to blame him.
I'm going to blame you because you made me go on camera. No, it's not just that. Like, I'm fine with them making it in your bedroom, but it's also that point where if I feel like if I like it, somebody else might. And if they don't, they don't. I don't mind. I make music for me, and I think that's the best music. That's another good comparison to Lee Scott. I don't think Lee Scott's making music for us. Yeah. He's making music because he likes it, and that's what I like. It's MF Doom. Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to make music you like. If you don't like this loop, fuck off. I'm going to rap banana shit over this, and that's it. And I like that element.
Look, I did that throughout my career. I made music for me. I didn't clock watch. I didn't do any of that stuff. Yeah. I just made what I liked. And at the end of the day, if it blew up, it just gave me an opportunity to be heard, and then it felt like your stuff wasn't falling on deaf ears. You know what I mean? Now people are listening. Absolutely. And that's all that mattered. Yeah, but at the same time, I did give up everything to get that opportunity. Yeah. I pursued it because I couldn't imagine me getting a day job and working at Tesco's. Yeah. Because that wasn't me.
Yeah, see, it's funny. It's like I'm near enough the complete polar opposite to you, because when I come up, in all honesty, I wanted it all. You know what I mean? Like, I went full fucking pelt, full gusto trying to make it happen. And the amount of relationships that I ruined, whether it be friendships, whether it be family, through music stuff is countless. But it was just like a lot of my passion for the music stuff, it came from losing my mother at an early age. And that was it was cathartic for me. So I always associate that and lump that in with that grief. So that was where my drive came for the age of 16. And I always thought, well, I want to be the best at this. And I wasn't really thinking back in the day about being rich and famous, but I was like, my main aim and my main goal was to play at the Glasgow Barrowlands, because that's where I seen all my heroes like Ice Cube, Public Enemy, Cypress Hill, House of Pain. When I seen all these guys, I wanted to emulate that, but I just want to walk away from it. When I walk away from it, saying, you know something, I gave it my best dig. I gave it my best fucking shot. I mean, I tried my best, and I genuinely think I'm the best MC I've ever been. I don't think I fell off. You know what I mean? I've always thought, well, I would jump into the grime stuff. I would jump into the trap and the drill stuff, because you can learn something new with each kind of genre, each subgenre, and bring it back into what you're doing. As long as I'm improving as a songwriter and as an MC, I'm happy with that, you know. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's doing it for the love. You know what I mean? Hip hop changed my life, so it gave so much to me. So as far as I'm concerned, every release and every bar that I write is me giving it back.
You mentioned grime. Now, I speak to a lot of people that are in our age group, and there seems to be a lot of people that seem to have issues with grime or drill or whatever. What's your opinion on all that?
We're probably the same in Scotland as well, but what it is I just feel as if grime is an offshoot of hip hop. I mean, it's another subgenre. For what I've heard, and when you hear it in clubs, it's fucking great. So I'm not going to be an old snobby hater. I come from like boom bap era or whatever and brickcore, but I'll give drill a bash. I'll give trap a bash. I'll try and put my own stamp on it. I done an EP. I done a grime EP with Conscious, just to try and get good at that and no be a snob. And when I see these wee guys that are wicked at it, like Pro Focus, like, I'll fucking back this guy 100%.
He doesn't say much though, does he?
It's a quiet one you have to watch.
Me personally, I love what's going on in the music, like the variety that's there, because it gives you listening options, doesn't it?
Aye.
I mean, I don't want to be like, if it was just R&B out there and all I was hearing is about people talking about love, then it'd be a bit boring, wouldn't it?
For instance, like your Ocean Wisdom.
Yeah.
When I heard his album, that was probably the last hip hop album I heard where I was just like, fuck, I need to improve. And that's a fucking great thing. See, when you hear something that's way outside your comfort zone, I was like, fuck me, man. That shit blew my mind. And it's just like, there always has to be something like that. And you could say, I wouldn't say that moves into the grime category by any means, but definitely that's a progression on hip hop as far as I'm concerned.
Bro, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Irvine, which is in North Ayrshire, which is on the west coast of Scotland. I first heard rap when I was maybe 12, 13, first wrote a bar when I was like 15, 16. And I used to rap every Friday, Freestyle Friday at my mate's house. And we didn't know there was any other rappers in Scotland, really. Kind of thought it was just us. I mean, we know there was one or two on YouTube, but I had no idea that was like widespread across the whole country. So yeah, man, once sort of caught on that it was happening in Glasgow, that's where it really started, was by going from Ayrshire to Glasgow, to where more rappers, more producers, more... Just like that's when I first got on stage, was in Glasgow, you know. So the opportunities were all in the cities, not really the sticks. And then I moved to Stirling when I turned 20, and, you know, that's when I met my producers, F8 and Cinnamon. Big shout out to those guys. And yeah, we got a wee crew of us in Stirling, and it's growing, and it's awesome. So yeah, man, just working towards releasing my first EP, and just try to keep consistent with releasing music.
How do you release your music? Because in our day, we were putting it on vinyl.
Pretty much the only avenue is like through social media. Obviously, distribution platforms to get it on Spotify and stuff, and then I put it on SoundCloud. I put my music videos on YouTube, but the only way to get it out there is on social media, for sure.
Do you think that way because of your age group? Or do you think there's the vinyl route's a possibility?
No, I'm heavy on the physical copies, you know. But if I'm trying to get someone to hear my music by giving them a CD, it's a slim chance. I think the physical copies for people like me, or maybe your hardcore fans are going to want it on vinyl or want it on cassette, but the majority of everyone else is going to listen to it on streaming platforms.
Do you think you get heard on the streaming platforms? Or do you think it looks like every time you put something out, they want you to pay for advertising to be heard?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
So how does that work for you?
For me, it's like, I don't want to say no. I don't think I get heard a lot. I think I'm still quite early on trying to establish myself and my listener base, but it's definitely growing, for sure. But I definitely see all the pay for this, pay for that. You get hundreds of accounts on Instagram message you up and say, oh, we can help you promote your music out here and stuff. So, yeah, man, it's interesting. It's just need to sort of be careful, I suppose. But at the same time, not be too cautious, because you're not going to get that far if you don't take a risk.
So why not take the risk with the vinyl, sell 1,000 copies, make more money than you would if you were on social media getting 1 million streams?
Both. Has to be both, innit? Put it on streaming platforms, but if I maybe push the physical copies, it's hard. I think it's just harder to get folk to pay for it, man. Maybe, as I say, like the hardcore or the odd interest will pick up a copy, but for everyone else, it's just so easy for them to click it and listen to it straight away.
I sometimes feel like the bigger names get all the breaks and everybody else is just left to fight for the scraps. And I see a lot of people struggling to be heard, to be seen, to be recognized, to be appreciated, whatever. And you've got your little, if you tag 100 people in your Facebook post, like 50 of them are going to come back and ignore you. The other 20% is going to probably say, look, don't tag me in again. Someone else is going to say something abusive. And you invest all this money in the advertising when really if you pressed up 100 CDs and went round your neighborhood, you'd probably find people that would buy it and you'd be making all that money direct.
For sure. I think that's the plan when the EP comes out, is obviously I'll launch it on streaming platforms, but I think CDs, at least, if I can get some vinyls or cassettes, for me would be cool as well. I'll get some vinyls to push, but definitely trying to hand out physical copies around Stirling. I know I can sell them there. I know I can sell them in my town. As for everyone outside of Stirling, it's the streaming platforms really, and until I can, try and push them in maybe Edinburgh and Glasgow.
How cocky are you to go into Manchester and go, I'll take on anybody and show you that I'm worth you investing in?
You want to go to Manchester?
Just anywhere in the country. How cocky are you to go and stand up with the best of the best and go, you need to pay attention to me. I am what I say.
For sure, I think that's what I'm wanting. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can only do the best that I can do, but if I do my best and represent myself thoroughly and just let the bars speak for themselves, do you know what I'm saying? And
I mean, recently I've been saying this line to a lot of people. It's not good enough to be good enough anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what extra are you going to do or can you do to be noticed, if that's what you're after? Or are you just happy just rhyming to your friends? And
no, rhyming to my friends is the foundation, but I'm definitely trying to grow it. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you think a lot of artists are dope, but they don't understand the business and they struggle when it comes to that side of things?
I think so. I think as far as the music industry is concerned, there's a little bit of illiteracy there, for sure.
Have you got any ideas on how to change that?
I'm not sure. I think just apply yourself as much as possible, put in 100% effort. As far as growing the base, apart from, it's hard again, I feel like you need to use social media a lot to sort of push it to certain places, targeted advertising, things like that.
Right, so what I was trying to get at by asking all those questions was you've just gone back to that same circle where it's like, I'm dope, I'm going to be incredible. Oh, I'm here on social media. I'm amazing, oh my God.
It's hard coming from Scotland.
It doesn't go anywhere.
In Scotland, there's only so many places, I suppose, that you can go, and trying to go down south, like this is the first time I've been down south outside of Scotland on any sort of rap business, so, that's a really cool experience, but maybe try and do that more, try and get outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah, well, see, for instance, like I'm based in Glasgow, but I used to run hip hop nights in Inverness, which is like hundreds of miles away. But it's because there was a burgeoning scene up there, and I wanted to like get all the acts for the Central Belt and take them up and let them play to different people than outside their own country, their own city. And it's like when I was doing that and then doing gigs in say Dundee or Aberdeen, and it's like, well, why can I not take this to fucking Newcastle, Liverpool, Leeds, and push down? Like, that's the thing. Even like with this is a happy moment for me, getting to meet yourself in the flesh and do this, because I'm a fan of the channel. You know, I've spoke to you for years. Like, coming down here is cool as fuck for me. The only other times I've been in London was battling for the jump off freestyles.
So why didn't you capitalize on that situation?
I tried my best, but what it was is that at the time the poster boy for the jump off was Professor Green. So everything was geared towards him, and then when all the footage and all that come back, you can see it was catered to pushing him onto the next level, which obviously happened, which is fine. But I'm quite happy with the fact that I went down to London and represented well. The only time I've done really sets in London was battling in front of thousands of people at the Brixton Academy, the Alexander Palace, in Glasgow. Played basically every major venue due to hard work and dedication, and that means more to me than a million streams on Spotify, because that's stuff that I can take to my grave. I can't take numbers to my grave.
Was there any point where you came across yourself being bitter because of the way the industry is?
Definitely. When I was coming up to about, right, I'm 46, I did this for the love, right? But I'd always say to myself I would jack it in at 30 if it never happened for me. But when I got to 30, it was like a relief, because like, fuck all that shit, just move on and enjoy what you do, you know what I mean? And there is sometimes when the industry in Scotland would get behind somebody that's not worth their weight in salt, and then that's when you go like, well, hold on a minute here, when that happens, I always maintain that the cream rises to the top and the fake fade away. So the ones that are left is always the real ones, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, well, with that in Scotland, there always seems to be a focus on, well, what can we push, as an industry, what can we push that's kind of pop culture based? And it's like, we all come from like a hardcore hip hop background. See, trying to sell hip hop or organic hip hop to the average listener, it's a tough one. I remember I done a gig in a youth cafe, and it was £1 entry, and a guy come back and asked for his £1 back at the end of the fucking gig. If that doesn't demoralise you, fucking nothing will. But with my perseverance, I ended up going for stuff like that to opening up for 50 Cent, the biggest venue in Scotland, just for talent, hard work, and my love for the craft. And in honesty, if I was based in London, I might not have got that opportunity, because London's a big fucking place, but I always back myself.
Who would you say is the biggest personality to come out of Glasgow?
Hip hop wise?
Yeah.
Probably myself. Nah, I'm not kidding. Who do you think?
I think at this point, the one that's pushed furthest is Loki. But I think Loki's done it very smartly, where he clearly built like a core of music and enough people that respected his wordplay musically, but then took that slightly, he just took like a slight fork and just made a whole different thing with the books and telly. And like, I've got a lot of respect for that, because it was it was probably a wee bit of leaving your ego at the door as well, to go like, maybe I won't push rap as much and I'll push me, and I'll just push the fact that I can bring an idea to the table that yous probably won't think of, and I'm coming from a perspective of the poverty side, or the scheme side, or the look down upon side. Like, I think he had that element, whereas a lot of these people, but he was also super intelligent. Like, he was quite wordy. He knew how to explain it to the people that were like, oh, how do you know that? So I think in music it has to be kind of him, but I think I'd honestly think Brian's like right up there. I think Big Div's right up there.
So
I think Two Toner up there. There's so many people you could put in that bracket of like
Stig G, Freestyle Master.
Aye. I think there's a bunch that need to be on the totem pole sort of thing, but it's such a like vacuum in Scotland, where the further people get a step ahead, there's more people grabbing at your heels to keep you where you are, kind of thing. And I think that festers in people, and it's like,
that's definitely a funny thing. Sorry for
It's
cutting you off,
strange,
because for instance, last year I released an EP with Honra the Bastardian from France, and it done really well in France and kind of got crickets in Scotland, and we've basically got identical followings. And it was just like, in Scotland, they don't build you up to knock you down. They don't build you up in the first place. You know what I mean? And that isn't. I suppose it keeps you grounded, you know. But it's like, see, whenever somebody comes out and they do quite well as far as hip hop goes, it's like the media always hit out with it's the rap proclaimers. And it's like, fucking proclaimers have got nothing to do with us.
Aye.
And see, for instance, when we do like interviews with like, say, like your hip hop connection and stuff like that, they would do like a Scotland special, and the background would be tartan, and it would all be paraphrasing stereotypes, about bagpipes and tartan and haggis and shit like that. And it's just like, well, can you not see how offensive this is? And as well, with the Fire in the Booth, with Charlie Sloth, like, he's only ever had one, as far to the best of my knowledge, he's only ever had one participant for Scotland, and that was Mad Hat McGore, and it was fucking great. But it gets to the point where it's like, well, there's a lot of other guys that are as good, and it's like, was that just a token gesture? We'll just get one Scot on and that'll do.
Do you think maybe they think because you're so far away that you wouldn't make the journey, where today we're sat here in 521 studio and you've made the journey?
I didn't give a fuck, mate. If I had to come down here in a wheelchair, I was coming down here in a wheelchair and hitching a lift, you know.
But you see what I'm saying, though? Maybe
Exactly.
they don't even ask you guys because they think it's too far. They ain't going to come.
There probably is an element to that, to be fair, but there's also the you'll never know unless you ask. And I feel like there's a lot of people that you would ask in Scotland, like yourself, if you asked a bunch of people to come here, they would go like, fucking right.
Well, look, like I said, and I'll say it again, Scotland, to me, is one of those places I would consider as a second home.
Yeah.
Like that place, when I was a nobody, they were booking me for shows at Art College and Renfrew Ferry and whatever, and they were building me up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but like, see, there is a connection between you and Scotland, because obviously on with respect BA, have to say as well, he's one of the most phenomenal artists to ever come out of Scotland. You know what I mean? So I'll put that out there too. And with him being your hype man, it's like, well, there's a connection to Scotland there straight away. You're like an honorary Scot. You know what I mean? You're just not wearing a kilt, which is quite disappointing. But with the line goes from strength to strength, the insert picture was you at the art school in Glasgow, and it's like, that's really...
Do you see what I mean when I say second home? Because that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, that was at the point, it was the pinnacle of everything I did. And when I opened my arms for that picture, it meant everything to me. It was like,
people
wow.
I know still talk about that gig, mate.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it meant everything to me.
Yeah.
And Glasgow, like I said, has got that special place here, always.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few places, but Glasgow's one of them.
Real recognise real, you know what I mean? And you've always respected like people. Like when I got the album and the phone number was at the back of it, I was trying to, for what I remember, I was trying to clear a sample for you because I was wanting my DJ at the time to cut up Nothing for the Ravers and Hate the Techno, because I was at war with the ravers and the fucking techno heads, you know what I mean? Because it was like hip hop versus dance music where I was living. And when I phoned, it was you that answered. I was like, oh, fuck, man. So at the time, I was just a wee impressionable guy. I was like, oh, fucking hell, I'm talking to a fucking superstar here, you know what I mean? But we kept in touch, and I sent you demos. You always come back and goes like, nah, B, that's trash. You need to do better here, stuff like that. This is where you can improve, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's fucking great, you know what I mean? Because I went back and I was like, well, the minute Blade likes this, I know I'm onto something good.
Because I'm not going to lie to you.
Nah.
And I've done that with a lot of people.
Exactly.
You know, I've told a lot of people that are somebody now, people that you probably think are the best rappers in the country, I've done that to them.
Yeah.
And they've gone on, and now they're the best in their field. So
I think that's where the cream rises as well, though, because a lot of people, you tell the truth that they don't like it.
Yeah,
And they
they
come
don't
back.
improve.
They come back like, no, I'll show you. And you're like, you fucking won't.
I've always said to people, don't ask me for my opinion, because
No.
I'll tell you the truth, and you might
Same.
not like the truth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, and you asked for it.
Yeah.
So if you don't want my honest opinion, don't ask for it.
It
It's
is an
simple.
awkward one, because like, see, when people, for instance, flip the table and they're asking me for the advice, it's just like, there's some times when they take it and get salty, and you're just like, well, you shouldn't have fucking asked in the first place.
The thing is with advice, though, it's not guaranteed. You're just asking me what I would change, and I would change that. And if that doesn't work, then that's what I would prefer to hear.
You know, you mentioned that picture that we took at the Art College that we
Yeah.
put on the album cover. No one's ever told me this, and I've never asked. And I really, as soon as you said that, I felt like asking, what was the vibe in Scotland from the people that saw that?
Well, what it was is the people that I knew that were at that night, it was like J Large for Sons of the Devil. He says Blade just turned up, and ripped it. Like that. He wasn't wearing anything fancy. He just turned up in his trackies, basically.
It wasn't trackies. It was a pair of jeans. It was a grey long sleeve.
How the fuck do you remember that?
I remember it.
Got a place in his heart.
No, it was. I'll tell you what it was. It was jeans,
Right.
right? And I think, I didn't used to wear black jeans back then, so it would have been blue jeans, right? It was a grey long sleeve T-shirt, and it had my logo on the back, and I was wearing a blue raincoat
Right.
that I bought from Millet's, I think it was, for £17.99, and I wore that raincoat for 11 years because that's all I could afford. Even when I was making music and you lot looking at me like I'm a superstar, I was broke. We didn't make money.
Well, I could tell with the inside picture when you had a can of Tennant Super in your back pocket. Know what I mean? Nobody with money buys or drinks that shit in Scotland. Know what I mean? It's fucking poison. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you drink that?
No, I don't drink. I've never drank. All it was is we were in the corner taking a picture and I saw the can. I thought, yeah, fuck it, put it in my pocket.
Aye. And the inside cover, it's him with a can of Tennant Super Lager in his back pocket. It's like 13 fucking %. Know what I mean?
It's like
mind-blowing
rocket
shit, know
fuel.
what I
It's
mean?
like it's the I've only got £3. What's going to get me the drunkest?
It's like, this guy's a maniac. Nobody drinks this in Scotland. Fucking hell. Know what I mean?
No, bro, I never drank.
I mean, it is a kind of weird, sad symbol of Scotland as well, though.
Because it's funny as well, because at the time, when that album came out, I was living in Fort William at the time, and I think I tagged you in a video for Torchbearer. I was in it with my old man, and we're walking about with the Creator Records and stuff like that. That's what I was kind of listening to at the time, and like reciting lyrics to and stuff like that, like, along with like Catch 22, Gunshot, Killer Instinct, and London Posse, or that kind of mob. You know what I mean? And it was cool because, as I say, it was different in the lexicon as well, and it's like. It's the first ever time I'd heard somebody saying that they were actually Armenian on record, and it's like, it made me think, well, I need where's Armenia?
And we have something in common, don't we?
Right?
We both shag sheep.
Only at the weekends for me.
Don't, bro, I was going to say don't lie, but no, you said it openly.
Aye.
So what is it, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday?
It's usually a Sunday, and her name's Barbara. And the last time she never washed, and I've got a yeast infection sitting here right now, so if you come any closer, you're catching a fucking disease off me.
Yo, we have a connection, sheep shagging. That's what we do, innit? The Scots, the Welsh, and the Armenians.
Doggy style for sheep shagging. It's not in the Kama Sutra, but it's like the English dictionary. It's going to get there next year. Mark my words.
Giving away all your secrets here.
Shut up. You ever seen the wool fleece jackets that old people wear? Oh, Jesus fuck.
How do you put the word Jesus and fuck in the same line?
That's a term of endearment, like cunt.
That's a Scottish thing, I think.
If you've done something disappointing, you go, oh, Jesus fuck.
I think
But it's no blasphemous.
we've got a weird, like, meticulous swearing system. It's like perfected. Everything's so razor sharp and to the point. But like, cunt's a great example. English people hate the word cunt. But in Scotland, you be a good cunt, be a funny cunt, be a bad cunt, be an evil cunt.
When the 1986 World Cup happened and Maradona pretty much did the hand of God and then went on to do that miracle goal, right? What was the vibe in Scotland?
Well, we all celebrated as a hero to us. Sorry.
There's another thing we have in common.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a funny one because when you watch that and then you're just like, everybody's like, oh, cheat. But then you see what he does with the second goal, you're just like, fucking genius. You know, like he ripped it. And it's funny as well because I'm a Manchester United supporter and my favourite player is Brian Robson. So I never minded watching England.
Was it because of the Brian connection?
No, it was just my dad used to be a groundsman at a small club in Scotland called Clyde, and he was friends with Craig Brown, who went on to be the Scotland manager. He used to be the Clyde manager, and I used to get programmes from Old Trafford when Fergie became the manager. Actually, it was when Ron Atkinson was the manager, and it was literally some kiddie shit. It was Brian Robson was my favourite player. The colour red was my favourite colour, and the number 7 was my favourite number. It was that simple.
Connection.
Aye. But Maradona, fucking like, it's funny about whether, do you consider him the greatest football player of all time?
Yeah, 100%.
Getting back to what you're saying about a lot of us celebrating that goal was, it's a lot to do with, I think oppressed is a strong word, but certainly through the Thatcher years.
It was bigger than football. There was a symbolism to it.
Definitely, and there's a difference between being pro-Scottish and anti-English. You know what I mean? I'm proud to be a Scot, but I'm not anti-English.
How are you guys going to build an infrastructure to uplift the game in Scotland on the music front, or is it not worth trying anymore? Do you think that people don't really get on with each other enough to do that?
There is definitely a part of that. When I done my hip hop nights in Inverness, I tried to bring the community together, whether I was a fan of the music or no. I try to be as objective, the right word, as possible, whether I'm a fan or no. And as long as it's good, don't get me wrong, there's people that have been trash and I don't deal with them. But if they're good and they're representing and they're releasing quality material, like say for instance with Pro Focus, this is like the second time I've met Pro. It wasn't a best pals act, it's because I know he's dope and I know he can deliver, and he's for a younger generation and he's shit hot at the grime stuff, you know what I mean? Whereas I'm an old school kind of boom bap head at heart, but I'm game to push as much as possible, and you always feel as if one generation has got to leave something good for the next. And prime example, like your Loki and your Respect BA, I've always says that, like guys like us, as in myself, Steg G, the freestyle master, the two-tone guys and all that, they laid the foundation for the next ones to kind of carry the torch and push it on, because we've literally introduced people, tens of thousands of people, to hip-hop in Scotland through doing support slots, whether it be with Exhibit, whether it be with gigs like Slum Village and stuff like that. So anytime there's a touring act, there's usually local support, and usually the local support represent well. So I always think it's always building blocks, and I really think like it just takes maybe one guy, one female, doesn't matter, to come out with one shit hot song, and that could push it in the next direction.
I'll make a suggestion. Why don't you lot hire a coach, get all the rappers from different scenes like grime, drill, whatever, get them to go outside Radio 1 and just basically with a ghetto blaster or a speaker or something and just perform until you're noticed.
In all honesty, definitely, but the BBC, did they support hip hop in Scotland?
That's Scottish.
Nah, exactly.
Right, so I'm saying, why don't you come to London and go to the main office and perform? Like, you know what? If you go there and there's 50 of you on a coach, 53-seater, and you put a speaker out there, something's going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Either you'll get ignored. There's going to be a variety of things. Either you'll get ignored, you'll get moved on by the police or whatever, because they'll see it as trespassing in front of the BBC building, or DJs are going to walk in and go, what the fuck's going on here?
See, that's
or
the thing.
the news is going to turn up and go, what are you lot protesting?
Yeah.
I ain't protesting nothing. I'm just coming to show you my skills.
Yeah.
When I get some money spare,
Yeah.
I'll pay for the coach.
Right,
Do that.
I'll hold you to that. Like,
Yeah, hold me to that.
right, I'll hold you to that.
Yeah. No, bro, hold me
Right.
to that. If I get money, I'll do it. But you need to bring a lot of youngsters in, though.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
His
that's
age
key.
group and
That's
younger.
key.
Aye.
Even younger, 15, 16-year-old.
I love your enthusiasm and drive. It's a big influence. It's a big influence for me as well. You know what I mean? And the fact that you continued on to do like the unknown and stuff like that. And Top of the Pops was never a game changer or something that I wanted to do. But seeing you on there doing it, it was just like, fucking hell, that guy never gave up. You know what I mean? He just kept fucking going and going and going. And it was like, that's probably one of the reasons why I'm still doing this at 46.
When I was young, and obviously this interview isn't about me, it's about you guys, but I'll just got to say this couple of things. When I was young, and I always said, one day I'm going to be on Top of the Pops. Mm-hmm. And I made it my mission to be on Top of the Pops, because unlike you, I wanted to do something with it. As much as I loved it, I didn't want to just be, you know,
Yeah.
there was no point in improving and getting good at what you were doing to perform to your friends in a bedroom.
I'm not of the opinion that I don't want to do it. I'm just not putting all my eggs in that basket. Like,
Whereas I did. So that was the first thing. I made a point of saying I'm going to be on Top of the Pops one day. And you know what? Manifested.
Yeah.
I made it. I did it. And, you know, but that wasn't the be-all end of it. I also bumped into Richard Branson in Brighton when I was a kid. I must have been 14, 15 in a phone box. And I bumped into Richard Branson. I was like, wow, Richard Branson. And I said to him, one day I'm going to sign to your label. But I signed to Virgin.
Yeah.
I made it happen.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So all I'm saying is you lot can make it happen.
As far as when you're talking about attainable goals and stuff like that, for me, it was playing the Glasgow Barrowlands and emulating one of my heroes. I'd done the SECC, which is at the time was the biggest venue in Glasgow, opening up for 50. And I know I've gave it my best shot, but as I say, my main goal was to play the Barrowlands, and I'd managed to do it 3 times. So I'm happy with my input. You know what I mean? I'm not under some false illusion that Rick Rubin's going to phone me tomorrow after this interview and say, hey, listen, man, I've got a Hot 16, you can jump on fucking a Beastie Boys remix or something like that.
Pro, you're sat here with guys that are much older than you that have seen a whole different scene to what you've seen. Have you got to understand their scene? Or is it just a case of you want them to understand yours because you are the future?
No, for sure, for sure. I've growing up spent just a lot of time researching and listening to a lot of old school Scottish hip hop. I call it old school Scottish hip hop, but I just mean those that came before me. So I know I take a lot from it. I think that in Scotland, you know, because there was a lot of arguments in America between like old heads and young heads, but in Scotland that gap was bridged a long time ago. Don't get me wrong, some people of older heads might not be a big fan of, like, you know, the sort of new school sounds, and a lot of the young guns don't like old school hip hop. But from my experiences in Scotland, no, the old heads have always been like respectful, and they're the ones that give you the opportunities. Those are the people that put me on stage and put a mic in my hand and stuff. So I think there's a lot of effort for them to, you know, try and understand, you know, the new music, whether that's grime, drill, whatever. And a lot of them hop on it and, you know, spit on it themselves, and it's just another beat to them. So for sure.
If you were to, say, be able to pick and choose between their scene or your scene, which one would take priority for you? Which one do you think provides you more happiness?
Damn. It's hard. It's maybe the old scene then, maybe, because they actually give a fuck about it, man. You know what I mean? They care about seeing the progression. I think a lot of the young scene, they're just living in it. You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking of anything else other than what's going on. You know what I mean?
I was talking to an MC a couple of days ago, and they recited some lyrics to me, and I said to him, bro, personally, I think you need to rethink this, right? Because one minute you're saying something sensible, and then next minute you're just throwing a mishmash of words just to fill in like the flows.
Yeah, rapping for rapping's sake.
Yeah, and I said to him, look, when you're making sense, I like it, but when you're doing all the other stuff, I don't get it. Yeah, it gets confusing, and it's a mishmash of a whole heap of stuff going on. It's pretty much like talking to a drunkard. So what I'm trying to get at is this. So I said to him, you know, what you need to do is understand what rap is, because I think our generation understands what rap is. Do you think the younger generation understand what rap is, or is just a case of they just do it because it's there? Do you understand what rap is?
I think so. I would like to think so. You got all the you know, rise above poverty, rhythm and poetry. I think when I started as well, it wasn't popular. It's popular now. It's cool now to be a rapper if you're, you know, a young gun or whatever. But it was very much the outcast territory when I was there.
Why do you think that was?
It just was so uncommon. People didn't like the Scottish accent. People didn't. It was just you were just an absolute weirdo if you were doing something like that. Anything outside it, and it could be because I'm from a small part of the country. I'm from a small town mentality. Maybe a little bit different in the cities. There's more people, more open-mindedness. But no, where I came from, you know, doing anything outside the ordinary was just daft.
Let's look at this in a comparison to something else. So if you wanted to work in a bank, right, and you were going to do more than just be a tea person, you'd have to understand your job in order to work in the bank properly, right? Or not?
For sure.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, why is it that there are so many rappers out there that don't actually understand rap, but they've got jobs in rap?
Less culture, more industry, maybe. Less to do with hip-hop culture and more to do with peas.
Do you think that's a problem, or it doesn't matter?
Room for both, maybe.
Okay.
I think you can remain true to the culture and still try and pay your bills. I think rap gave a lot of people a route out. I think rap allowed people to express themselves. People, you know, you don't need to be a good singer, but you could sit down and work on rap and become a good rapper. And I don't know, it depends, man. Some people are just caring about the technical aspect of it. Some people don't care about being technical, they care about the message. So I think there's so much to it.
For me, it was about the message first and foremost, like whether it be a personal message or whether it be a social message, both are equally as valid. My sisters, when I was growing up, they were always playing the Sugar Hill Gang, and Grandmaster Flash, The Message in the house. So it was part of my childhood. And then when I get into the hip hop that I was into, I'm a Public Enemy fanatic, you know, and obviously that's all about social commentary and change, and a lot of it influenced me. Like obviously you've got your Ice Cube and your stuff like that. It's about social commentary, but the only thing for me, like the message for me is I always find hip hop cathartic and a way out. See the amount of guys and ladies that I know that do hip hop that in Scotland that would have possibly had quite a shitty life, but it was an avenue for them to express. Whether it turns financial or no is irrelevant, but you can tell that with them doing it, it's basically, that's their avenue to vent their frustrations, and basically it's catharticism. It is for me, definitely. And the message, whether it be personal or whether it be social, it's both are equally as valid as far as I'm concerned.
Can I just take this moment to just say big up to Melanie Shelltoe Mel as well?
Yes.
Because, I remember her from like when she was jumping on stage and b-boying or b-girling, really. That was the first time I saw a female in Glasgow doing that.
Yeah,
so it's always stuck with me.
I'll tell
so
you.
Big up Melanie.
Yeah, definitely. We went through to watch KRS-One was playing in Edinburgh, and so we went through to watch him, and he got a bunch of local breakers up, and Shelltoe Mel was one of them. So she was up there doing her thing, and she must have been about 8 and 9 months pregnant. She was basically fucking throwing herself about the floor when she's pregnant. It's just like, that is an amazing moment. And KRS-One was even like, fucking hell. Love Mel to death.
Yeah.
But with Mel, every time you see her, she's got a camera in your face. You know what I mean? It's like, honestly, every time I see Shelltoe Mel, I feel like a fucking catalogue model.
And that's another thing I remember of her as well from the early days.
She's got old school pictures of us when we opened up for the Sugar Hill Gang at like King Tut's. This was before anybody had cameras and shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But she documented a lot, which is great.
So yeah, big up Mel. Anyway, we have to kind of work towards ending this and everything. Is there anything you want to say about Glasgow that you think people need to know about the scene in Scotland? I mean, Edinburgh to me wasn't the same as Glasgow. When we first went there, it was amazing. Second time we went there, it was dead.
Yeah.
And what I realized with a lot of people when we were coming to do shows in Glasgow, like we didn't bother booking Edinburgh because people travel from Edinburgh to come to Glasgow.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
So do you think that killed the scene in Edinburgh?
It just depends. Edinburgh and Glasgow have two completely separate cultures, but nothing taken away for the guys in Edinburgh. And I mean, there's some ridiculous, like, talented artists out there. And I mean, as there is in every city, but usually Glasgow's usually the main hub for when big acts and even smaller acts come over, and it's usually a Glasgow venue that hosts them.
What's been the biggest highlight for Glasgow?
There's highlights all the time, you know, like for instance, for years, everybody's wanted the biggest influences for a lot of people was KRS-One, but he never came to the UK because I think he had a fear of flying, or he couldn't take a boat or anything like that. When he came over to Glasgow, like fucking hell, you know, a lot of people went to see him, and it was mobbed in Edinburgh for KRS-One. That was mobbed that night in the Liquid Rooms, and then they played in Audio in Glasgow as well. So it's like, see, when you see these guys coming over, and I mean, that's always a big deal. But Public Enemy used to come over every second year. Cypress Hill, Run DMC, House of Pain, just all these guys. But there's mad shit. It's like they've got the Yardworks Festival, which is graffiti based in Glasgow now, and that is just phenomenal. It's like all the graffiti artists basically in Scotland, and it's open to everybody. It's not just for like hip hop heads. So there's always something great and a great representation for hip hop in Glasgow, whether it be breakdancing, graffiti, MCing or DJing. Crash Slaughter's ridiculous. I mean, Richie Rough Tone's ridiculous.
Of course.
DJ Zeeny's ridiculous.
One more thing. There was a time when I was reading that Glasgow had the highest knife crime rate in the UK, right? And some of that was blamed on hip-hop. What have you guys got to say to that really quickly?
I don't think it's anything to do with hip-hop. I think it's culture, it's political, it's poverty. There's a lot of have-nots and wants. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think hip-hop's relatable to any sort. I think that's universal. I don't think hip-hop's relatable to any crime. I think it's a very teaching thing. It's not. I don't think there's any violence relatable to hip-hop.
They just blame us in it.
Yeah, it's an easy target.
Yeah, it's an easy target.
Glasgow is ridiculous for knife crime. and it was nothing to do with music.
But that knife crime was going on before what we see now.
You guys call them housing estates, but we call them schemes. And the scheme that I grew up in was the most violent housing scheme per capita in Europe, a place called Castlemilk. And basically we couldn't leave. We had to stay in our own street because if somebody says, well, where are you from? And I'd be like, well, Stravanen. It's like, wow, I'm Fernleach. Next thing I bleeds out. Or it could be a wallpaper stripper, anything. And I look back in the days and I dodged a lot of axes, figuratively speaking. But you look back and it made you street smart, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. You know? It's calmed down a lot now.
It's different now.
Yeah, it's a different ball game now.
I moved away from the schemes and stuff. I stay in Fort William now, which is like in the sticks to an extent, but I've got kids now, so I kind of want them to be sheltered to an extent, but I don't want them to stay there forever because you need the experience. But I don't think I would ever move back to like a city anymore because it's not worth the hassle. But see, when you go to Glasgow now, it's completely different from what it was with my time. That was the question always was, where are you from? And you've got a right answer and so many wrong answers. Yeah, and you better gamble that fucking dice like true.
And the thing is as well, a lot of it's what team do you support? Rangers or Celtic? And it was like, I dodged so many bullets because I'm like at Clyde and I just get fucking laughed at.
If you had one sentence to just big up Glasgow, make people want to go and check out Scotland artists.
Take the blinkers off and expose yourself to some new shit.
All right, that's good. All right, guys, so there you have it. We've been speaking to these guys, and if you want to follow them on their Instagram pages or on their Facebook pages, check the links in the description below. Make sure you follow them. Make sure you get to understand what the scene is like in other places other than just your own, because we can build that way. But until next time, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. Guys, thank you very much for being here.
Cheers, mate.
And,
Much appreciated.
I'm looking forward to your performances. All right. Peace.